Today's video is all about the Black Doctor opening. It's an opening full of traps and pitfalls and has been problematic for players of all classes throughout the years. Hopefully by the end of this video, you will be more familiar with some of the tactics and ideas within this opening, and maybe you'll be able to use them in your own games. I am joined today by a good friend of the channel. He is a world champion, a winner of multiple tournaments, runner-up in the recent Southeastern Regional Championship, and an expert in this opening. Alex Holmes, it's very great to have you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here. I love playing at this last tournament and looking forward to talking about more checkers.
Yeah, Alex, you had a phenomenal tournament, and it was really great to see everyone there, and everyone was as safe as possible. And I'm really glad that it went down as well as it could have. So, yeah. So without further ado, again, today is all about the Black Doctor opening. And Alex, I know you expressed in the past this is one of your favorite openings. It's full of traps and pitfalls, as I mentioned. So let's start it out again. Now, the Black Doctor, it can actually come up a number of different ways, but the traditional way it starts is 11-15, 23-19, 8-11, 22-17, 9-13, and then the 17-14 exchange. Now, instead of jumping 21 to 14, the extra take of 19 to 10 is made, and then 7 to 14 is the jump. So the first side is a piece up, and the second side is now playing a piece down, but it has a strong positional edge here. Alex, maybe once again you can explain for the folks listening why you like this opening so much and why you've been drawn to it for all this time.
Well, because you have to play weird games to beat master players in these tournaments. The more I played in these tournaments, the more I found out you just can't play a easy go as you please opening, or just freelance and just try to go through theories. You have to make weird moves that they don't know for them to go into a loss. And this is the reason why I've actually liked both doctors, and especially this one right here, because it's actually not forced to ever really play this, but I love playing it because no one else hardly ever does. So
yeah, that's a great point. I can say for me, when I first started playing checkers, for the longest time, I thought this opening was untenable for the second side. I always thought it was a loss. I mean, that's clearly not the case. It's been played, for centuries. James Wiley was an advocate of this back in the 19th century. But you don't see this opening, Alex. I know you mentioned you played in tournaments because it's a way for you to get an edge on some master level players. You don't really see this at the World Championship level, though. Do you know if there's a reason for that, or is it just because it is a high risk gambit line for either side?
It's mainly because it's like you said before, it's really high risk, and because it's not forced, unlike the White Doctor, which is forced if you draw the opening. It is a lot of people tend to study the White Doctor a lot more than the Red Doctor, just because it's rather forced than just playing some crazy line like this is right here.
Yeah, and I'm in that same boat. The White Doctor can come up in a 3-move ballot, whereas the Black Doctor, like you said, you kind of have to. I mean, there are ways it can come up in an opening, but you have to force your way into playing it. Whereas the White Doctor, it's a 3-move opening. So, well, yeah, again, that's another. The White Doctor can be another video for another day, perhaps. Yeah. So here we are with the Black Doctor opening, Alex. Now, I thought maybe. If you would indulge us with maybe some of your favorite lines within this opening. So after that 7 to 14 jump, what do you like to play next from the second side?
Well, it doesn't really matter between 25-22 or 27-23 because usually you have to make both of those moves right after each other. So like if you go 25-22 first, then you have to go 27-23 next, pretty much no matter what. The same thing if you go 27-23 first. So right off the bat, your first two moves are kind of forced either way for the second side.
Okay, that's actually good to know. And checkers isn't a game about memorization. Certainly, it helps to have a good memory. It's more about understanding the formations here. And Alex, I think the reason for that too, of the 25-22 and the 27-23 followed up right next to each other, is just you're consolidating the center of the board. That's really the reason for those moves. Is that correct?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's then say, because 25-22, I think is probably the most logical move at this point. So where does the first side go after 25-22? Now, I know there's a number of texts that say, 11-16, perhaps, 2-7, 3-7. I think even 11-15 is sound. But what's your next best move for the first side here, Alex?
For the first side, I mean, you can go a lot of different ways. With this, I mean, I always go 2-7, but I mean, you can go so many different ways on your first move with the first side. I mean, it's hard to count them at all.
Sure. Well,
So
Alex, again, you're an expert here, so let's do that. Let's do that 2-7. I think 2-7 is a very logical move. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of players could look at that move and say, absolutely, let's do it. So, yeah, 2-7 it is. And then, like you said, 27-23 is probably the next best move then for the first side, correct? Or for the second side, I should say.
absolutely, yeah, you have to go 27-23 here.
Okay. Now, in my mind, when I'm looking at this position, I'm seeing, 6-10, 11-16 being good moves. Where do you like to go from here, Alex?
Again, it really just depends on your playing style and if whatever you think is the best route to go. I usually go 6-10.
Okay.
Because it now, I mean, usually people go 22-18 once you do that, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for, honestly, when I'm playing with red. But
okay. Well, Alex, can you indulge us? Why are you hoping for 22-18 at this point for the second side?
because I want to go to I either have most people will go 27 or 17-22. I'm sorry, but I like to do the 4-8 line, which is I think a lot stronger than 17-22 in my opinion. And I've gotten that's how I've won most of my games is going 4-8 instead of 17-22 is going 4-8. And a lot of people don't know this move, and at this point they have no idea where to go. They're just guessing.
Okay. That makes sense to me. So instead of 22-18, which again you can wait with the 4-8 move next, where is that best move then from that second side? What's the move that you're, not really hoping that your opponent would make, but maybe the best move on the board there for the second side?
Okay, so after the 4-8, with the trade, you have to go 29-25, which most people will see that.
Okay, so and just so we know, so we are going to go through that 22-18. That's assuming this is what people will make, correct, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so after the 22-18, 4-8, and then the exchange, okay? And now you say 29-25.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then for the first side, you go 11-16, which is this is the part where usually people will mess up right here. And where do you think is the correct move if you had the move?
For the second side now after 11-16?
Yeah.
I tell you what, there's a lot of possibilities on the board here. I mean, 25-22 looks like it could be a potential trap. 24-19 looks like it may be trappy. 24-20 also doesn't look super great. I don't know, Alex, you tell me.
Well, the only move to draw here is 23-19, and no one ever plays that.
That's a very unnatural move.
Yeah, and that's how I've always won on this line with the red side.
Wow. So every other move, it's a loss, or it's not sound.
Right. correct. 25-22 is like your best. I wouldn't say your best. It probably is your best hole, but I mean, you have to play absolutely perfect, I think, to even come close to a draw. It goes back and forth with a 10-piece database. It says it's a win, and sometimes it says it doesn't. It stays on that 60 plus overall the whole time, and you got to let it sink out for 5 to 10 minutes, and it should see out to a win. But again, it's got to be played perfect for it to be close. Otherwise, red has an easy win.
Sure. Yeah, and that makes sense because, again, the first side is up a piece here. And, yeah, 25-22, if it goes 22-18, regardless of what that first side does, again, you have the 1-5 exchange. So, yeah, exactly. I don't see how it could get that piece back anytime soon. So, so let's go back. So after the radical 23-19 exchange, and that is very radical. In a lot of my videos, Alex, I talk about how just consolidating your center, not interrupting your position too much. This totally disrupts the second side's position and looks really, really bad. But this is the key move to draw here in this opening.
Exactly. And after this, I've studied this, so I kind of know this all the way down already. So I go 8-11, and then for the second side, you have to go 24-20, I believe. I don't think there's any other moves you can do, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I mean, it looks like, just looking at this, I see, possibly 30-26, 31-26, but I mean, I'll take your word that 24-20 is probably the best move here.
Mm-hmm. And then at this point, red has 2 options. He can now either break out 14-18 and play for a good ending after they take the 2-for-1, or he can go 11-15 and keep pressing the piece. Now, what I'll usually do if we ever got this far into a tournament, if I'm playing against a really good master, is I'll play for the ending. I'll play 14-18. And then after the trade, I accidentally jumped the wrong way. Now, after the trade, you go 25-22 with the second side. And then, of course, red jump 18-25. Don't jump the wrong way.
Yeah, don't jump the wrong way because that'll be a triple then. Not great.
And then after that, you'll notice that red is able to get a free king on the side and try to play for an ending this way. So. It's a draw, but I mean, it's definitely not the easiest draw for sure for white. But.
Sure, and looking at this position too, you can see the bridge ending for the first side, and yeah, I mean this is a technical draw, but this would be very, very difficult. So, but I would say even Alex, that 14-18 move, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to bring up this game again, so playing it back from the start so the viewers can see it from the start again. That 14-18 move is pretty unnatural. I would say. I don't think a lot of players are going to necessarily see that move, which makes it, again, for those watching this video, if you encounter a position like this, you'll then be aware of what to do.
Absolutely. And then the problem with 11-15, I would say, is after, because the right, well, I'll let you actually get to the move.
I'm actually here. So after 11-15, which again I think is the most natural move. I think the majority of players, if they've never seen this before, I think 11-15 is the most natural move for the first side.
Right. So after 11-15, you have to break either way. So as red, you have to go 14-18 again right here, and then
where does Alex? Where does the second side move after 11-15? Does it cover up?
I'm sorry. You have to go 30-26. So that'd be what most masters would play. Okay. So that's why I don't go 11-15. But yeah. So then after that, you take red has to break out 14-18 still, even after 11-15. So once that happens, and then the second side has to go 26-22 to force the 2-for-1.
Mm-hmm. And then it's still it looks like a still a strong end game. Alex, to go even before the 14-18 break, 7-11 looks also a little natural. Is that not good at all for the first side?
I don't think so. I mean, it still draws, but I mean, it kind of makes it's kind of the reason why I don't play 11-15 at all. It just makes the ending very, I would guess you would say, easy, because after 7-11, the second side goes 26-23, and then
Gotcha.
I would say that. I mean, you're going to get the piece back eventually as you keep on forcing your way towards the middle, I guess you would say, as the second side, because it's unbearable. Otherwise, you're just going to trap red if he tries to hold the piece for too long.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I think for the viewers seeing that kind of it's not an exposed elbow, but it's that three pieces in a row, and then the 2-for-1 or taking a 2-for-2, getting a little bit of more of a positional advantage for the second side is what you want to avoid here for the first side. So yeah, Alex, I can see that now pretty clearly why 7-11 wouldn't be the best choice here. So again, the 14-18, keeping this move in mind, as unnatural as it may be, is the best move. So after the 14-18 and then the 21-14 and then the 10-17, you said, of course, the 26-22 exchange is best.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And then does the first side then go to get a free king at this point?
Yes, they do. And the reason why I think this easy draw, I guess you would say, is because white can now go to the side and 25-21, and now he can. If you can, I mean, I'm sure you can see it. He can. You have to go 20-16, 15-11, and then 7-10. Yeah. So you have to attack the piece off the bridge.
Crowning under the bridge is actually the best route to go and the only sound draw here.
Yeah, you just have to go get a king and attack the piece from behind. That way you can you don't really want to leave these two pieces out here to get stolen for free is the reason why. So that kind of sense.
As we kind of go back to the start then, Alex, I'm going to kind of play through the opening again. And by the way, I know in our opening series video that we did, this was an opening that we absolutely did not recommend for beginners at all. And those watching are probably still thinking, this opening is not for me. I would say, for those that are exclusively playing online, maybe try this out, because either if you're playing from the first side, a player may overplay it and you may get some positional edge from the second side. Or maybe if you're the second side, again, you're playing so that maybe your opponent is trying to hold on to that piece too long and you can eventually secure a win. So I think at the highest levels, you're not going to find so much of that. But I think if you're just playing online, you may be able to score a number of wins off this from either side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so going back, if you want to look at a different opening, so this is why I love it when people play 22-18 on me instead of just what I've been playing a lot. What I always play with the white side with this is instead of 22-18, I play 24-20.
Okay. Yep.
And I came up with this line because when I was first studying with the red side, I figured there was just no way I could get forced to do all this, because I mean, so hard to play if red knows how to play it correctly. And so I came up with this 24-20 line instead of the regular 22-18 as the natural move here.
So I like it a lot, because obviously you're trying to push the first side to go towards the center where the second side can then trap it. But, for a lot of people watching this, And even for myself, side moves, Alex, are generally not good. One of the principles of checkers is you always want to go toward the center of the board. Can you maybe can you maybe explain why this side move is so powerful for the second side?
Because it allows them to one, it allows them to mess up if they do want to play 11 to 15, and push way too far up toward the center. And two, this also allows them much better chances to win just overall, let alone, having to play one of the toughest endings possibly in the game of checkers, because that is just, that ending is so weak for the second side. It's just crazy. There's just, the second side can win it. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I think, it's one of those things, Alex, where experience is the greatest teacher. And this is one of those things where you just kind of have to recognize a position enough to see why a side move would be more advantageous as compared to a center move. But maybe that
that,
can be another topic for another day. But so after the very strong side move 24-20, and we talked about how 11-15, just looks like the first side's going to get into a bind. So where is the next best move here for the first side, Alex?
the best move by far, in my opinion, is 4-8.
Okay,
Uh,
so waiting
the
and keeping that bridge. Yep.
absolutely. And then at this point, you cannot go 22-18 at all. I'm pretty sure that loses. So you have to use your own waiting move as 29-25 for the second side.
Okay.
And then now at this point, you had different options for the second side, or I'm sorry, for the first side. Now you can go 11-15 or even 10-15, or it's funny because you could also even go 12-16, which my father's actually played on me before, and I was wondering what in the world he was doing when we were studying this together, and turns out it's actually a good move itself too. So
Yeah, I think walking into, a 2-for-1 like that's probably the last move I think a lot of people would consider here. I mean,
right.
maybe 5-9 would be also not considered at all, but I'm also is 1-6 sound at all here, Alex?
Uh, I think it's okay, but I think it also gives white this or the second side a best side, because now you can go 31-27, and now you can't go 10-15 or 11-15.
Yes, good point. Good point. Okay, so I mean, in your opinion, then I know you mentioned 11-15 first, 10-15, the radical 12-16. That's super radical to me.
Right.
Do you recommend then 11-15?
I would probably go 11-15. I mean, I'd sometimes, again, if I had to play against a top master and I was in this formation, maybe I would consider 12-16, just throwing some completely wild at them. But against most players, I'm going to go 11-15.
Okay. Yeah, and I think here again, it still looks like it's very trappy for the second side to lure the first side into something. But let's let's play it out from here, Alex. So what does the second side do at this point?
Oh, okay. So you absolutely have to go 28-24. You cannot let him break out 15-19. So you have to go 28-24 for the second side.
Very good. And what that does is, again, the first side is now in a position where they're looking like they're starting to run out of moves. So now, even
Correct.
though, again, the first side is a piece up, that 28-24 stops the first side from taking that critical 19 square.
Right, right. So now red, or the first side, has a couple of moves here. It can either go the normal 8-11, or again, it can. I wouldn't say it's a wild move, because I'm sure a lot of different people would at least consider this move, and it may actually be on a particular line for most people. But you can also go 14-18 right here.
It's I also kind of saw that and had a feeling you would say that. It sounds like when you're playing the first side here, 14-18 seems to be kind of the star move at any point. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, to have a good ending, yeah, to play the early 14-18 at some point when you get a chance.
Well, since that's not supernatural, though, Alex, can we go over that 8-11 line?
Absolutely. Okay. So then after 8-11, obviously you have to go 31-27 with the second side. And then after that, now, again, I don't know if you have to go 12-16, but that is the only move I know for sure that keeps an advantage for the first side. Because obviously if you go 1-6 or 3-8, you are in that shot. And obviously, I don't think you can go 14-18 at this point. You have to go 12-16.
Wow. And again, showing you just how complex this is, the fact that you have to more or less walk into an open 2-for-1. A lot of players aren't going to see that. But again, hopefully, the people watching this can kind of soak this in, play this out a few times themselves to get more comfortable and more familiar with some of these positions. So yeah, Alex, okay. So after the 12-16, is 23-18 the first move then, or what? How does the second side play here?
You have to take the 23-18. Absolutely.
Okay. And then I'm guessing you do then take the 26-12 double jump, and then the first side jumps. Okay. So, and then 17-26, and then 30-23. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah, correct.
Very good. So I guess now, 13-17 looks best or looks good from the first side. Is there anything I'm missing here, Alex?
Nope, that's the correct move.
Okay.
Go get yourself a king.
The first side's going to get a king. So I guess, now the second side looks like it still has a little bit of work to do here. Do you have the full run up to the end of this game, Alex, or is this kind of where things are left?
Obviously you want to get your guy to safety, so you want to go 25-21 right away, get that guy out of harm's way, and then after that, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to end up pitching that piece on 12-8, I think. If you can see where I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm seeing all the possibilities here. There's a lot to really map out even for this video, but yeah, it sounds like the drawing capabilities are in fact there. It just takes a little bit of work from the second side.
You got to see it, but again, once you if you take your time on it, I think a good amount of players will, see what they have to do to try to draw it, at least have an idea of what they want to do. So I would say it's definitely, a tough ending, but I wouldn't say it's the hardest. It's definitely not as hard as that 22-18 ending for sure.
Yes, that looked very, very tricky for the second side for sure. I certainly wouldn't mind be playing that against anybody. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So, Alex, is there any other line you want to show in this very complicated, very complex opening this afternoon?
We can. Absolutely. There's one more that we can look at, and it's actually we don't have to go 2-7. I do see a lot of people when I play with white. Or the second side, I do see people go 11-16, and which is natural. But this is where it gets very interesting, because now this is you want to go 25-22 first, also as well when you go instead of 27-23. But when they go 11-16, this is the only move I think, besides obviously 6-10 or 12-16 when you're forcing a 2-for-1. I think this is the only move where you do not have to go 27-23. You can either go 24-20 first or 29-25 and 27-23. So there's 3 possible moves for white.
Yeah, wow. Okay. I can see, going 24-20, I can see where you're kind of luring the first side into some traps. For me personally, I think the second side, I like 29, 25. I like waiting in these positions where you're a piece down, but you're consolidating and building a powerful center. Is that your
Right.
take on this too, Alex?
Actually, I take the 24-20 line because
Oh, very good.
then at this point, it changes the whole game completely because now I'm definitely going to try to win this game almost every time. So that's why I go 24-20. Then the correct move is 16-19.
It is 16 and 19. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then go 27-24. Now you pitch right here to you just give it right back up. And some people will get, I wouldn't say get over, you know, over aggressive, but they'll sometimes play the shot, which is, I don't know why, but they'll go 4-8 and then 14-18, then take the shot towards, towards the center. If you see where I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
So after the 27-24, you want to go 19-23. So pitch the piece, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And then
Break
okay.
all of that out.
And then do they jump though? Are they jumping 20 or 31-22 or 32?
They are 31-22 direct way.
Okay. And then you're saying 4-8 is what they'll do, and then they'll try to form a shot.
No, I was talking about it instead of pitching 19-23, they'll sometimes go 4-8 and then go 14-18 to take that shot.
Gotcha. Understood.
But yeah, 19-23 is by far the best move on here. And at this point, like, it looks really weak for white, but I have definitely won a few games playing this. So I'm very comfortable playing this way. So 32-27 is where I always go. And
so
then
after the 4-8 for the first side?
Yes, after 4-8 for the first side.
32-20.
Where do you think is the best move for the first side here?
Gosh, so at first glance, I think 2-7 is natural. I think 6-9 also maybe sound, maybe 5-9 and then develop a 1-5. But I think just looking at this offhand, I think 2-7 is the most natural move to me.
Yeah, 2-7's best move on the board. And
okay.
Then 30-26.
All right.
And now you go 6-9.
Okay.
So obviously I can't go 27-23 now and build that trading power.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can't do that because of the 2-for-1 there.
Right. And then so I want to block right away, so I go 29-25.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go 1-6. Now it's starting to get really complicated on the ending, and I believe you have to go 19-16 here. Let me see if 19-15 loses. Nope, you can go 19-15 as well.
Okay.
But I usually go 19-16 because I know that's the draw.
So trading off. Yeah, again, it looks a little unnatural, but at this point, so many of these moves look unnatural. So in this type of opening. So okay, so after the 19-16 exchange.
Then you want to go 17, 7-10, run the piece off. And then the surprising move is actually going 27-23 with that round instead of the usual 27-24 possible route.
So jumping towards the side, again, not very natural and certainly not something that a lot of players would see firsthand.
Right. And then the first side can go 6-10. And then you want to go 28-24. What's the second side?
Mm-hmm.
And 10-15, which is, again, kind of, you want to be aggressive, but at the same time, not be too aggressive. You are going to have to let the second side go into king row. But actually, I believe the king row is not the draw, because now if he does go into king row, so you want to go 16-11 as the second side at the 10-15. Now, if you go to 11-8, I do believe that loses, and it does. 12-16 will win for this first side, but you actually pitch 11-7.
Wow.
And then 26-23.
So I think this is a great instructive ending, regardless of what opening it comes from. This is fantastic. Yeah. So the pitch, so you can see that bottles up that first side completely, and then 26-23. Now the first side has to give up a piece or two.
Yep, it has to give up two pieces by it can either go 15-18 or 15-19.
Yeah, I was actually looking at the 15-19 to me just stood out to me, because if for whatever reason the second side isn't thinking, then if they jump 23-16, you can take that. So, but 15-8, both are the same, both work out the same.
Right. Yep. So, and then this is easy ending for the second side. Red does have the first side does have a chance of losing it.
Oh yeah.
But it is a draw. It does turn out being a draw. But yeah, red first side does have to be careful, to say the least.
Oh yeah, I can see this right now. In fact, I mean, the database will shows it's a draw, you say, but yeah, no, I'd feel like the first side is in trouble here. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, this ending I feel like is a microcosm of this entire opening, where if you just and you can make this for all openings and checkers, but if you just really take your time, really consider each and every move, no matter how unnatural it may be, like those 14, 18 moves we saw earlier, sometimes those are the best moves on the board. Even this 12-16 that was critical for drawing this game looked incredibly unnatural, but sometimes, if you just consider it and then looking 2 or 3 or 4 moves ahead, you don't have to look, 10, 15 moves ahead, but even if you just look, several moves ahead, you'll end up drawing this game. So, yeah, but again, this is incredibly difficult, but I'm really glad we kind of highlighted this, Alex. And it's great to have, someone of your stature, someone that is an expert within this opening, because I feel like I learned quite a bit, and I hope other viewers did as well.
Absolutely. I love this. Like I said, I love this opening. I love both of the doctors. I thrive in those games because, like I said, I'm trying to win every single game as much as possible if I can. If I see possible winning opportunities, even if it can get me in trouble, I'm definitely going to always try to go for it, because this is what helps you do better in tournaments. Is you have to try to find a way to win games. And I mean, when you're playing top level players, the best move is the move that the opponent doesn't know and at least draws.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a great philosophy, and I think there's a lot of people that agree with you. There's no sense. I think some of the attitude and the mentality is there's no sense playing unless I can win the game. For a lot of people, draws are no fun. They want to try to win every single time, and I think that's a great approach to have. It's a great philosophy to have, and I think that's what really makes our two styles kind of contrast, in which I'm more of a contemporary, more of a restrictive type of player that's okay with a draw, and each kind of has its time and place. But I think, Alex, that's why this is it's so great to have you on this channel, to be able to bring your philosophy and to bring this approach into these games.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah, well, again, I hope everyone enjoyed kind of this rundown of the Black Doctor opening. I know it was a lot, and what I always recommend, again, with all these videos is really just to take your time through them, kind of look at each of the moves Alex and I talked about, kind of walk through them on your own board at your own time, go in this video slow motion. These are some of the recommendations that we have, and for your continued success in this game. So, Alex, thank you once again for joining me, and thank you all, as always, for watching.